Hello, everybody. This is Nick Totero, Professor of Information Technology and Computer Science, Lakeland Community College, CAE mentor, and peer reviewer. All right, let's work through the student information. We're now at 2C, Student Work Products. Again, I'm going to go up to my screen and explain what I did and what I've seen, and hopefully this will benefit you. Now, with this particular requirement, we want to see student work. Again, redact the work, make sure that we can't see who that student may be. I did run into a situation, somebody sent a student report, they redacted the student's name, but in the body of the report, the other peer reviewer did find, oh, look, there's that student's name. So if you're going to submit anything that's obviously from a student, you want to make sure that it can't be traced back to that student. So let's go to my screen. And you're going to provide 6 examples. Now, I'm going to keep beating this drum here, but if you remember, I said 4 or 5 courses aligned to the KUs. That means there's 4 or 5 syllabus out there aligned to the KUs, which means there's 4 or 5 labs aligned to the KUs. I prefer, and I know other peer reviewers do prefer, that you give student works of those labs that you provided. And, well, if you've only provided 4 or 5 KUs, but you need 6, just pick two more, 1 or 2 more, and you should be fine. So think about that. It keeps your thought process always in one track. You're getting a syllabus from a class, you're getting a lab from a class, and you're getting student work from that lab from the class. And it helps you out and it helps the reviewer out. And then you just find two labs. Now, with the student, the other issue we've come across with the sample of student work is if it's coming from a vendor, maybe it's from Cengage or somebody like that, and the report that you're getting back for the student isn't that robust. I did something myself. I strongly encourage this because remember, for some of the labs, some of the output isn't that robust, isn't that, I guess, impressive, but what can we potentially do? So here are my particular items. You notice are all coming from my KUs, they're all coming from the labs, and then there was an additional one. I had 5 courses mapped to KU, so I just had to find an additional one. Let's go up to the very first one. Now, something I did, and I do encourage the people I'm mentoring to do this, is to almost have a cover letter for that assignment. You notice I have this little cover letter. Doesn't have to be on letterhead, but I just put it on letterhead with my signature, basically explaining the course description, the work product, excuse me, that I'm providing, and the KU alignment that is associated with that work product. So this particular one, it's for ITIS 1007, give the description. It's a Python program. It maps to basic scripting and programming. All right. Then here is fundamentally the assignment. So provide the assignment. And if we scroll down, keep scrolling down, eventually we get down to what the students submit. In this particular assignment, they just basically created some simple Python programs and they did screen captures and pasted them into the assignment. In other assignments, they may be doing it differently, but you'll notice a lot of times, even your own work, that different assignments can have different submission types. I know a lot of people will use screen captures. Some will make the student type particular stuff in. By having this cover letter, you're kind of explaining what is going to be provided, and then here's the example. Let's go to another one. Again, I went to the approach of having this cover letter saying where it's coming from, the course description, the product, and where the KU is aligned. Here is, the student work product, what they're going to submit. And if we go through, this particular item is a NDG lab, which the students will run through the NDG lab and they will post screen captures at certain points. And that is what's being documented here. Again, I'm stripping out any student information. And we'll look at one more. What is this one? Okay, this is a fairly good one. This is coming from a Cengage. It's coming from our Networking Plus, and we use a lot of Cengage in our Networking Plus, which means we use their virtual environment. I'm explaining what they're doing. And here is the particular virtual environment. Here's the directions. And there is over 30 pages here. I understand that. But the actual student submission, let it fill up, is not that impressive. It is what it is. So by having that cover letter, by having what the assignment is, and then by showing the student submission, it makes it a lot clearer. You might be saying, well, didn't we provide the lab assignment in that other section? Yes, but by having it combined with a cover letter, the lab assignment, and the eventual the student submission, it keeps it nice, it keeps it organized. Again, I may have warned you in other videos, be careful with some of the PDF files if they grow too large. This one was a situation where it grew way too large, so I had to kind of shrink things down a little bit so the file wouldn't grow that big because of all the graphics that were associated with it. And then, I'm not going to work my way around, but if I was to look at all the other ones, I start with a cover letter, I start with the explanation of lab, and then I give the assignment. So I do see when I'm doing peer reviews and I'm looking at other people's content, I see a similar approach. Where you might get dinged or somebody might request for more information, your peer reviewer is going to request for more information, is you didn't redact the information so we can still see student information. Or I see this a lot, especially if you're using some of the publishers' labs, they'll print the lab report and it's very weak. It's not bad mouthing the publishers or anything like that, but sometimes the publishers, when they publish the report, they may just say the score. So you might just see 78%, and that's not, that's saying the student completed it, but the reporting is somewhat weak on there. So be careful with that. That's why, again, I like the approach. And yes, I did not think of this when I did a peer review for another school. They were doing this, and I said, that makes a lot of sense. So I started doing it, and I started recommending this. Cover letter, the lab, student submission, right? So let's wrap some things up. Here are some key points. Going to keep beating this drum. Fewer KU courses alignment, the better. Submit assignments based upon those, so it keeps everything in track. You think about the folder, you're going to have syllabus, lab with submission, and then you need 6 of them. Make sure everything's redacted so we can't trace it back to the student. That's a good thing. Be very careful about weak reports. Follow something. Put a little effort and time in the beginning with a cover letter saying what this lab is going to do and how it does it, then the lab. And it should be fairly smooth sailing. Again, where things get dinged is we can trace it back to a student, not good, or it's confusing. It just says, lab 24. You scored a 78% on it. It doesn't really help out that much. So if anything, more information you provide, the better. So with that being said, let's go out and learn something.